Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will agree this is a big bill for billionaires. Now, we will hear over the course of this hearing a vigorous debate. And frankly, there is a strong divide between Republicans and some other Republicans. There is also a divide between both sets of Republicans and this side of the dais. I can speak at least as to why it is every Democratic member will be voting no on the bill for billionaires. Simply put, besides all of the other important issues involved in this bill, this is the overarching truth. It is the biggest tax cuts for billionaires in American history, paid for by throwing 13.7 million Americans off their health care coverage. Now, those aren't my claims. That is not subjective. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office just this week confirmed that at least 13,700,000 Americans will lose their health care if the GOP bill for billionaires becomes law. That is bad economics. It is unconscionable. Even conservative Republican Senator Josh Hawley called it morally wrong. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Josh Hawley is right. Now, as to the part where I say this bill's for billionaires, you will hear throughout this debate, as we heard often over the course of the long markups of this week, Republican after Republican members say they must pass this bill, otherwise the tax cuts won't be extended for the American people. That's a disingenuous argument. And Democrats in the Ways and Means Committee proved it. Here's what I mean. Over the course of an 18-hour debate, a markup that began early afternoon and lasted until 8 a.m. the following morning, this side of the aisle offered amendment after amendment to protect the tax cuts for every single American making less than $1 billion. Do you know those who make $1 billion a year or more are less than 0.001% of the American people? Every Democrat voted for that amendment. Every Democrat voted to protect the tax cuts for at least 99.999% of the American people, and every Republican voted against it. The reality is, this is delivering the biggest bounty of tax cuts for multimillionaires and billionaires in American history, paid for on the backs of the poor and the working poor and the middle class in this country. The American people were asked in a poll I saw not too long ago, do you support cutting Medicaid in order to pay for tax cuts? 81% of the American people said no. A majority of Democrats, a majority of independents, and here's the thing, a majority of Republicans even said they oppose this radical agenda. So you can see why Democrats have proudly stood united against this piece of legislation. This will do real damage to the American people. You know, our Republican colleagues have been on a 15-year quest to repeal Obamacare. In this piece of legislation, they will come closer to their ultimate goal than ever before. I referenced the 13,700,000 Americans who will lose their health care if this bill passes. About half of that comes from decimating the Affordable Care Act. Folks, we know what happened 8 years ago. They had their repeal of the ACA pass the House of Representatives. But then in the Senate, a few brave Senate Republicans stood up and gave it a famous thumbs down. I hope there'll be a few House Republicans who will join with us either today or on the floor if it gets that far next week, and to protect the health care of millions of Americans. Say no to the big bill for billionaires. With that, I yield back.